Picture the absolute ultimate workplace pressure cooker.
Oh, God, here we go.
No, seriously, imagine it. You are living in a room that is essentially the size of a standard walk-in closet.
Barely even a closet.
Right. You are sleeping on a bunk bed where if you try to sit up straight in the middle of the night, you will physically concuss yourself on the ceiling.
Which you would absolutely do.
I literally would.
Yeah.
And you are surviving on maybe 3 hours of sleep if the universe is feeling incredibly generous.
Right.
Your entire physical existence is reduced to carrying these heavy, precarious trays of crystal and porcelain up and down steep, rocking, incredibly narrow staircases.
I'm getting anxious just thinking about the stairs.
And your job is to execute completely flawless 5-star, white-glove luxury service for people who are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to be there.
Which is wild.
And as if the physical toll wasn't enough to break you, your coworkers are actively, and sometimes gleefully, trying to sabotage your every single move.
Good morning, good evening, good night, good life, babes.
Welcome back to the Snark side.
Yes.
So, babes, the blueberry mojitos are frozen, they are poured, and yes, this is our second glass.
And yes, we absolutely ran them through the ninja slush.
We did. It is the best investment we've ever made.
Literally the most important appliance in my entire life right now.
But we need to discuss something important before we get into the episode.
Always.
Are these still mojitos?
I mean...
Because I really don't think they are. Have we crossed over into frozen margarita territory?
I demand official cocktail classifications. Because a mojito is muddled. This is pure, unadulterated slush.
Right. But anything frozen is automatically elite. It just tastes better.
It does taste better, but structurally, the second you blend ice into a rum drink, it just becomes a daiquiri, right?
I refuse to call this a daiquiri. It's a frozen mojito. Summer immediately turns us into beverage scientists, I swear.
I mean, I spent 20 minutes debating the ice-to-mint ratio this afternoon.
Which is so funny because, babes, we have to talk about what we did today.
Oh, my God. Do you have to?
Yes. Because yesterday we mentioned we were going fishing. And, babes, we actually did it.
Unfortunately.
At 5 a.m.
I am still shivering.
5 in the morning. We met up with our friend Blaine. Shout out to Blaine.
Shout out to Blaine for dealing with us.
And somehow, the three of us ended up at the lake before sunrise.
Which is an ungodly hour. I spent most of the morning questioning every single life decision that led me to standing on a wet dock in the dark.
The alarm going off was physically painful. I hit snooze 3 times and then just laid there staring at the ceiling like, why am I doing this?
I literally tried to manifest a thunderstorm so we could cancel.
But the weather was actually perfect. The first glimpse of the lake with the fog rolling off it, it was so romantic.
You romanticized the entire experience. You were taking aesthetic photos of the bait.
The bait was gross, but the lighting was good. And let's be real, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing.
Zero. I was holding the rod like it was a hazardous material.
Meanwhile, Blaine is pretending to be this ultimate expert, talking about the currents and the water temperature.
And did we catch anything?
I mean, you caught a weed.
It was a very aggressive weed. It put up a fight.
The funniest thing was when you accidentally hooked your own jacket and thought it was a massive bass.
I was reeling it in so hard, I was like, get the net.
I was crying laughing. Would you do it again, though?
Honestly, yes. But maybe at noon? Waking up at 5 a.m. feels illegal.
It really does. This is an extreme sport for us. Fishing people make it look so easy, but it is so much work.
I'm just proud of us for trying something new. Like, what other hobbies have we randomly decided to attempt this year?
Well, there was the pottery class where my bowl collapsed.
Oh, right. And the rollerblading phase that lasted exactly one afternoon?
My knees couldn't handle the rollerblading. But the craziest part about today...
Don't even say it.
After fishing, we still had work.
The absolute disrespect of the universe making me work after I survived the wilderness.
Right. For anyone new here, we are both dentists, and we work at separate practices. And because of the fishing trip, we both went into work late.
It was horrific.
Why does coming in late feel 10 times worse than leaving early?
Because of the walk of shame. Walking past the front desk when the waiting room is already full of people staring at you.
The panic is so real. I walked in, and my first patient was already numb. I was trying to look so professional, but I was running on no sleep, and I definitely still smelled like lake water.
I was operating entirely on caffeine and pure vibes. The day somehow feels rushed immediately.
Half days weirdly feel longer than full days.
They absolutely do. Every single appointment felt like it took 3 hours.
I literally dropped my mirror twice. I was just...
a disaster.
Completely. Okay, babes, enough fishing.
Yes, please.
Enough pretending we are outdoorsy.
Yeah.
Because we need to talk about this below deck down under finale.
The chaos. The absolute unhinged chaos.
I watched this episode and I was just spiraling. We absolutely need to discuss it.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so we are jumping into the wreckage of Season 4, Episode 18, the finale. And before the first guest even steps foot on the yacht for this last charter, the entire crew just implodes.
Specifically, the leadership team, which is wild.
Right. The internet is calling it Cabin Gate. And we have to talk about how this completely shifted the power dynamic of the whole boat.
Well, you have to look at the environment, right? They just got back from a crew night out.
Which are always a disaster.
Always. In yachting, a night out is supposed to be a pressure valve, but it's really just an accelerant. You take exhausted, resentful people, pump them full of tequila, and whatever tension was brewing just detonates.
And the tension between Chef Ben and Chief Stew Daisy was already so toxic. So they get back to the boat, and Ben is completely exhausted. He claims he's been operating on like 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night.
Which is brutal.
It is. So instead of going down to his tiny crew cabin, he makes this choice. He walks into the primary guest master suite, shuts the door, and locks himself in.
Which is a massive breach of protocol. You do not touch the guest cabins.
Especially because that specific cabin had just been painstakingly detailed by Daisy's interior team. They had a 24-hour turnaround for the final charter.
Right.
For anyone who doesn't know, a turnaround is when they scrub the boat from top to bottom between guests. The Stews busted their backs to get that room perfect, and Ben just decides his sleep is more important than their labor.
It's pure ego. He is prioritizing his own comfort over an entire department's collective effort. And Daisy is obviously furious.
So mad.
Enter João, the first officer.
The plot thickens. João and Ben have this 7-year friendship, but João was also getting super close with Daisy.
Romantically close.
Very romantically close. So João steps in to act as Daisy's proxy. But he doesn't just knock on the door. He gets the master key and just breaches the locked cabin.
It's such an aggressive escalation. As first officer, yes, he's enforcing the rules, but from Ben's perspective, he is cornered.
The scene was just a wall of bleeped-out swearing. Ben calls João a wanker, an idiot, a prick, and then, babes, my jaw hit the floor.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
While staring João down, Ben defiantly rips the duvet and the freshly pressed sheets completely off the bed. He just ruins it.
He weaponizes the mess. It was so calculated.
He literally says, well, now it's not made. The girls can just make it in the morning.
And he taunts him, asking if he needs a stewardess or a chef. It's a raw display of how indispensable he thinks he is.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Oh, do?
Yes, because his defense the whole time is sleep deprivation. If I've been sleeping 2 hours a night for 6 weeks and I'm cooking fine dining, my brain is mush. I might have a literal toddler meltdown. Are we overthinking a guy who is just desperately tired?
I mean, sleep deprivation is literally a torture tactic. It messes with your impulse control. But tearing the sheets off requires a very specific kind of spite.
That's true.
If you're just tired, you fall asleep on top of the covers. Deliberately dismantling the bed is active sabotage. He was loudly communicating that his value as the chef outweighed the labor of the entire interior team.
It's like in a real-world office. Imagine a marketing team working a 14-hour day to perfectly format a PowerPoint for a huge pitch.
Oh, I hate this already.
Right. They save it on the server and go to sleep. Then the lead salesperson, who is admittedly stressed, decides he doesn't like a font. But instead of changing it, he just deletes the entire presentation to prove he's the one who brings in the revenue.
That is exactly what Ben did to the Stews. A prepped guest cabin is like a sterile operating room. Once you break the seal, you have to start the sterilization all over again.
Such a good point. And it permanently shattered a 7-year friendship. João literally said in a confessional that the friendship is gone because Ben made it personal.
But did João overstep? Using a master key on a locked door is a massive invasion of privacy, especially on a volatile, sleep-deprived guy.
I think he did. He backed Ben into a corner and Ben lashed out.
It's the paradox of authority. He tried to solve an emotional conflict with a physical key, and it failed spectacularly.
Which brings us to the morning after. The hangovers are setting in, and Captain Jason wakes up to an absolute mutiny.
The spin that happens next is fascinating. The mad dash to be the first one in the boss's ear.
Yes. Ben texts Jason and says, Daisy tried to come at me tonight, so I put myself in a guest bedroom to stay out of the situation.
Such revisionist history. He completely leaves out João, the swearing and destroying the bed. He paints himself as this innocent refugee fleeing from Daisy.
But João also texted him, and it was so much more ominous. He just said he confronted Ben about the cabin, and it didn't go well, and they should talk.
Jason reads this and investigates, and when he asks Ben what happened, Ben doubles down.
He does. He claims the interior team was just sniffing around looking for trauma.
But Jason doesn't take the bait. He provides a firm reality check. He tells Ben to cop it on the chin and points out the blatant disrespect.
And Ben just folds and says, okay. But here is the craziest behind-the-scenes tea. Jason admitted on the after show that he couldn't fire Ben.
Which is the reality of the industry.
He wanted to fire him. The behavior was completely toxic. But navigating a final charter without a chef is impossible. You can't just DoorDash a super yacht chef in the middle of the Caribbean.
Jason was a hostage to Ben's culinary skills. It happens in corporate America all the time. The toxic top salesperson who abuses the staff but brings in 60% of the revenue.
Exactly. So Jason calls a mandatory nucleus meeting with his department heads. Ben, Daisy, and João.
And he dresses them down. He reminds them they were supposed to be the A-team. He calls out their massive egos.
He corners them. He tells Daisy to stop escalating emotionally, tells João that de-escalating is sometimes better than using a master key, and rips into Ben for the disrespect.
He essentially forces a public truce because the alternative is failing the charter.
Ben actually apologizes to João and they hug. Then he apologizes to Daisy, and they reach this tense truce. But do you think it was genuine?
Absolutely not. It was a psychological band-aid held together by the promise of tip money. They suppress their grievances because $26,000 outweighs holding a grudge.
True. But while the managers called a truce, the junior crew was fighting a proxy war down in the trenches.
Mostly fueled by Ellie.
Ellie, babes, Ellie's a fascinating character study. She is so ambitious, but her execution is phenomenally messy.
She spent the whole season campaigning to be a sous chef. And she saw the rift between Ben and Daisy as a ladder.
She literally fed the flames. She's in the galley telling Ben that Daisy sits on a very high horse and trashing her own interior team.
Classic workplace triangulation. Trashing your direct supervisor to another manager to gain favor.
And it worked on Ben. He actually goes to Jason and formally pitches a promotion for Ellie. He wanted to give her the official sous chef accolade.
But Jason shuts it down instantly. He tells him it's not the right time. Jason hasn't forgotten Ellie's insubordination. He knows rewarding her would destroy the fragile peace.
Daisy was totally aligned with Jason. She told Ben that Ellie is lucky to have a job and does not deserve a promotion. And the Reddit fans went wild over this.
The clash between reality TV titles and actual culinary standards is hilarious.
Let me read you some of these comments because they are ruthless. One user said, "My chef apprenticeship took 4 years. How could she learn everything needed in a couple of weeks?"
Exactly.
Another user said, "You don't get to be called a chef unless you've undergone training. At the very least, she could be a commis."
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, a commis is an entry-level apprentice in a traditional French kitchen. A sous chef is the second in command who can run the entire operation.
So fans are saying that giving the title to a stew who occasionally rolls sushi is a mockery of the profession.
It was purely an emotional reward from Ben, born out of spite toward Daisy.
Because the promotion is blocked, the galley and interior just go to war over the pettiest things. Like the breakfast argument.
Oh, the 8 a.m. versus 9 a.m. fight.
Daisy politely says the guests want breakfast at 9. Ellie snaps back that Jason explicitly said 8, just trying to pull rank using the captain's word.
It's micro-level communication completely degrading.
But the ultimate petty moment is the bagel standoff. The radio static incident.
This was a masterclass in weaponized incompetence.
Okay, picture this. Ben makes a bagel for the primary guest. Ellie calls the interior on the walkie-talkie to come pick it up. But the radio just transmits static.
Pure silence.
So what does Ellie do? Does she walk up one flight of stairs? No. She leaves the bagel sitting there for 25 minutes.
It's infuriating to watch.
Finally, Jason responds on the radio saying she's inaudible. Daisy comes down in a huff, and Ellie immediately blames Daisy for not listening to the radio.
Deflection. Instead of owning the technical failure, she accuses Daisy of negligence.
Daisy fires back that they never heard the call, and they have this massive standoff over who should physically walk the cold food up the stairs.
It is absurd. You have a multi-million-dollar luxury operation grinding to a halt over a cold bagel and a broken walkie-talkie.
The guest's experience completely takes a backseat to their ego war. And speaking of the guests, the universe has terrible timing because the ultimate nightmare guests arrive right at this moment.
The collision of exhausted crew members and ultra-wealthy, demanding clients is a sociological experiment.
Enter Brandon, the primary guest, who was almost kicked off last season for drunk swimming. He demands a seafood extravaganza for lunch.
Which implies a massive decadent spread.
Right. So Ben makes lobster, shrimp, this incredible spread, and includes some vegetables. Brandon complains there are too many vegetables and refuses to eat the lobster because he doesn't do that.
It is a logical paradox designed to find fault. He asks for an extravaganza, gets lobster, the pinnacle of luxury, and rejects it. It's a pure power flex.
And then there's his friend Patrick. Patrick only eats Captain Crunch, plain burgers of no ketchup and buttered noodles.
A culinary toddler.
Ben is suffering. For lunch, he has to make Patrick a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right.
And Patrick complains that the peanut butter is chunky.
It's just unbelievable.
For dinner, the other guests are having a 7-course fine dining menu themed around the 7 deadly sins, and Ben has to serve Patrick a cheese pizza.
And this leads to the pizza incident.
Ben is so stressed about serving this basic food, he tries to elevate it by putting the cheese pizza on a tall, fancy cake stand.
Which is structurally a terrible idea.
Ellie gently suggests that a greasy pizza on a wobbly cake stand is going to be hard to cut, and Ben absolutely snaps at her.
He loses it over a cake stand. Though honestly, some Reddit fans defended Patrick.
They did. One user said Patrick was chill and contributed to the huge tip, and that Ben should have elevated the pizza better.
Another pointed out that Ben left Patrick sitting there with no food for multiple courses, while the others ate the 7 deadly sins menu. That's a fundamental failure of hospitality.
It is. You don't let a guest sit empty-handed. But Ben's ego couldn't handle accommodating a simple request.
No, he felt completely above it.
Somehow, they miraculously salvaged the charter. Brandon wanted 10 individual birthday cakes. Ben sneaks in 10 grocery store cakes, unboxes them, and serves them. And only one guest noticed.
It proves that guests are often paying for the illusion of luxury, not the actual substance.
Then we cannot forget Captain Jason's Speedo save.
Oh, my God.
To secure the bag, Jason physically serves one of the cakes wearing a custom tiny Speedo printed with his own face.
It's hilarious, but it's also dark. A highly trained maritime captain has to strip down to a novelty Speedo and keep difficult guests entertained. The required subservience completely warps the crew's mental health.
They are forced to suppress their own dignity to maintain the guests' delusional reality, and that pressure vents onto each other, hence the screaming over a bagel.
Exactly. It's a closed hydraulic system of stress.
Well, the guests finally leave and it's payday, but even then they squeeze in one last petty moment, the comment card standoff.
They just couldn't help themselves.
Daisy sends someone down to get the guest comment cards from Ben. Ben refuses to hand them over. Daisy goes down herself, and Ben and Ellie gatekeep this piece of paper, pretending they were too busy to just hand her an envelope.
A physical manifestation of withholding validation, a final power play before the hierarchy dissolves.
Exhausting. But then they get the payout. The guests leave a massive $34,500 tip.
Almost $3,000 per person for a few days of work.
Parade magazine did a breakdown, and this pushed their season total to $235,000, averaging over $26,000 per crew member.
A life-changing amount of tax-free cash for 6 weeks.
They beat out Captain Sandy's crew and Captain Carey's crew. Down Under took the crown.
It effectively functions as hazard pay. It adds such a complex layer to the toxicity. They're miserable, fighting, and sleep-deprived, but they are making bank.
And we get a sweet moment. Daisy goes to Jason, and they officially give Jenna her second stew stripe back after her demotion earlier in the season.
A quiet, validating moment showing that hard work can lead to redemption.
But I have to ask you, does a $26,000 cash injection actually fix toxic workplace trauma? Or does it just buy their silence until next season?
Oh, it just buys silence. It acts as a psychological amnesiac. It rewrites the narrative from I survived an abusive environment to I worked hard and earned a massive payout. The money creates cognitive dissonance.
Which explains how they all acted on their final night out. The vibe was entirely celebratory. It was like watching amnesiacs at the bar.
It was so surreal.
Batul makes this emotional speech thanking Jason and João, and everyone is crying. Alicia pulls Jenna aside to apologize and asks to co-parent their gay pride plushie.
So sweet, but so jarring.
Daisy and João share a deeply romantic kiss. Even Ben and Ellie find peace. Ben pays her $17 from his honeypot jar for every time he calls her a condescending pet name and gives her his chef's knife.
An empty gesture considering he just failed to get her promoted, but she takes it with a smile.
And digitally, Ellie is now branding herself as Chef Ellie online. And Jenna and Eddie are still together and joking about planning a wedding.
It's what sociologists call trauma bonding in extreme environments. Shared adversity creates intense solidarity. They tear each other apart for 6 weeks, but leave as fiercely bonded friends because they're the only ones who understand what they endured.
They survive the war together. Okay, we have covered so much ground. Let's move into our segment. Segment 1. Captain's favorite. Who is the MVP of the episode?
I mean, I honestly have to give it to Captain Jason. He navigated the unfireable chef situation perfectly and secured the tip with a Speedo.
The Speedo alone earns him MVP status. I have to agree. Okay, segment 2. Fired before lunch. Which crew member would never survive working with us at the dental practice for a full shift?
Oh, Ben. Absolutely Ben.
100% Ben.
He would throw a tantrum because the composite resin wasn't the exact shade he wanted, and then he'd lock himself in the supply closet.
He would literally rip the bib off the patient. Segment 3. Yacht job. We would be terrible at. I'll go first.
I would be an awful deckhand. I would drop the expensive teak scrubbers into the ocean, and I can't tie a knot to save my life.
I would be a terrible interior stew. The second a guest told me they didn't like the color of their napkin, I would just stare at them until they felt uncomfortable and left.
You would get 0 tip.
Negative tip. I'd owe them money. Segment 4. Fishing trip versus yacht life. Compare today's fishing adventure to life on a super yacht. Which would we actually survive longer doing?
Honestly, the fishing trip, I complained the entire time, but at least Blaine wasn't asking me to iron his socks at 3 a.m.
Good point. On a yacht, you can't go home. If I have a bad day at the clinic, I go to my own house. You live exactly where you work.
Which is the most provocative part of this whole show.
Think about the structural environment. Your boss is your landlord, your roommate, and your mediator. There's literally no physical door you can lock to escape your job.
The architecture of the workplace itself is a pressure cooker.
Is it even structurally possible to have a professional disagreement? Or is the entire super yacht industry designed to manufacture human combustion?
It's engineered for drama. When the lines between personal and professional are completely non-existent, the explosion isn't a failure of the crew, it's a feature of the boat.
Exactly. A pressure cooker is designed to build pressure. Well, babes, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
It's been a journey.
We want to know your thoughts. Are frozen mojitos still mojitos? What is the earliest you've ever willingly woken up? And would you rather spend a day fishing or working on a yacht?
And which crew member would you hire first? Let us know.
Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share the podcast with your messiest bestie.
And keep sending in your shady, snarky, or stupid stories.
Stay messy, stay delusional, and we will see you on the smart side.